Hello and welcome to Beanie-Tastic number 8. Yes, I make up words. These are beanies. I think they're fantastic, hence Beanie-Tastic. Welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here. I'm Geraldine and this is G Crochet Off the Hook. Today I have 6 beanies to share as well as a novelty beanie that I created. Now, for many years, I've crocheted beanies, mainly for charities, sometimes for baby shoots, sometimes for dress up, and a few of them get to stay at home with me. At the minute, I'm having much fun and joy crocheting with Mad Mimi's Crochet and Farming and Coco's Crochet, as Laura and Litze each host a beanie cowl once a week on their channels. And the novelty beanie was inspired by a mini novelty beanie crochet along by Witch Piece Crafts. And I'll share all those channels details in the description box. And I'll just mention here at the beginning of this batch, all these beanies have been created with acrylic yarn. And at least 3 of them, I used my yarn ends and wound them up double-stranded, just randomly colors together to create some of these beanies. And we'll start off with Laura from Mad Mimi's Crochet and Farming. She's hosting #BodHatapalooza, and these are all beanie tutorials done by Crystal from Bag O Day. And we'll start with this lovely, with yarn ends doubled together, granny bucket hat. I think even though all the colors were totally random, this turned out to be a really happy beanie. And with this one, I used a 5.5mm crochet hook. That's the granny bucket beanie. And then we had the Hat O Day, Bag O Day beanie. And this one I used a 6mm hook. And I had just enough yarn ends in this colorway. And just look at this beautiful crown at the top. This beanie is made with some puff stitches as well as some front post stitches. And as always, Crystal walks you through those stitches, and in no time you feel confident enough to just do the repeats in the pattern and land up with a beautiful beanie like this. I think I did mention I used, yes, a 6mm hook for this one. So this was the Hat O Day, Bag O Day. It does have puff stitches, and this beanie and the granny bucket beanie, they both start from the top down to the bottom. And then the third beanie with Bag O Day was this adorable bunny ears beanie. And for this one I used a classic pool skin DK in white and some leftover variegated yarn. And I just added the variegated in with a little bit of trial and error to make sure that I could use all of it. And this one was with a 6mm beanie. Now, this is a beanie we did a week ago, I think. And Laura did make hers an adult size, which looked absolutely gorgeous. So that was the bunny ears beanie, and also worked from the top down. And these were the 3 that we did from Crystal's tutorials. Love those. Then we did beanies with Litze from Coco's Crochet, and we started off with this gorgeous beanie. It's a slouchy beanie, and the pattern is by Spring the Fiber Artist. This one is also worked from the top down, and I used a variegated yarn, Kismet's DK, in the colorway Sahara, and for my beanie I used a 5.5mm hook, and it's a very quick beanie to make up. And the next beanie, using some yarn ends again, just randomly pulled together, is the Manfas hat by Cinnamon Stitches. And this one I used a 5.5mm hook. It has a different construction, also worked from the top down, but you follow the process, and somehow the yarn ends that I had balled up together in this one did exactly what I needed, was created some stripes. And again, I'm sometimes just amazed that I have the confidence to not color control and just take, well, I can't. I've ahead of time double strand colors together and just wind it up with a wool winder, and then use that ball like it was a normal skein. So however the colors come out, that's how they work up, and I think this beanie turned out really beautiful. That's the Manfas hat by Cinnamon Stitches, and I used a 5.5mm. And then we were wonderfully surprised because the next beanie is absolutely adorable. And this is what reminded me that in the past I have made babies' beanies for photo shoots. And Litza has given us her own tutorial with her own pattern for the Tulip beanie. And isn't this just the most darling beanie you have ever seen? For this one I used a combination of Al Yarns DK and a Kismet Lollipop. All DK yarns with a 4.5mm hook for this one. This beanie is worked from the bottom up. You would never know, because this is a beautiful crown. And there are 3 sizes to this beanie, and it's all a preference of just changing your hook. And Litza explains and calmly takes you through all the color changes. You can carry your yarn up through the beanie and then get a mommy and a me beanie. Exactly the same yarns as for the baby beanie I used for the adult beanie, except I used a 6mm beanie for this one, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. And the crown is just, you would never know that you had actually started this beanie from the bottom up. So that's the Tulip beanie by Litza from Coco's Crochet, and I'll link the tutorial directly to this pattern in the description box as well. So that was my 8th batch of beanies. And then I'd like to share my Pixie flower beanie. This beanie I created to take part in Judy from Which Piece Crafts mini make along for a novelty beanie. And Judy, I have mentioned previously, had gone to a beanie festival, which I'll actually link that video to where she shares the festival with us. Absolutely amazed to know that there is, well, I'm not amazed that there's creativity out in the big wide globe, but it was amazing to see that there was this beanie festival. I think it was the 29th year of this beanie festival, and Judy shares with us some of those beautiful creations in that video. And she hosted us putting our creative hats on and submitting a novelty beanie. Now this did take me, I did do a granny square sun hat when she announced this particular cow, and I had these ideas of perhaps, you know, adding amigurumis, because I love my amigurumis, to the beanie and sort of making it an out to sea novelty beanie. And then I remembered seeing some of Judy's tea cozies. She makes gorgeous tea cozies, and there was a tea cozy that she had made with flowers. And I thought, yes, I like the garden, I like flowers, and in Fantasyland, let's be a pixie. So I set about trying to create my own pixie beanie. And of course, I did try to look for a pattern of some kind, and I didn't see anything that I could follow to make up what I was looking for. So what I did was, some of you might recognize this color. This is the Owl Yarns clay color that I used in my daughter's log cabin blanket. I chose this as a base color for the beanie. I started off pretending I was making one of those elf Christmas beanies, and I didn't want something too long, just as a stalk at the top of the beanie. So I just created a Christmas elf's beanie to begin with. Thought to myself, okay, that's about as long as I need it to be. And then I did a straightforward double crochet increase to make a normal beanie. And then when I knew that it fitted, underneath here we can't really see, but I did 2 rounds of front post, back post in the back loop to make a tiny little brim there. And then in the front loops I went back and I just did little shawl stitches, and then tacked the shawl stitch down to a stitch where it landed in the middle, to the little base that I'd done with the front post and double post crochet stitches that you can't really see. And then I set about making flowers. And I can tell you, I'll just set that down for a second. I tried many different flower ideas. I was making, don't even remember the names. I was trying to make like a big clam flower to go on the side, but it sort of overtook the beanie, so I left that. I tried various little petaled shaped beanies. I tried the puff stitch beanie and I really liked that one. And then I found some of this Ella's, it sort of has like a halo on it. It's like a little bit of a fuzzy yarn, which reminded me of those little hairs that you get on some flowers and some leaves. So I thought I was going to try and do, I settled on the puff stitch flowers. I was happy with that. So I used that yarn to create a few puff stitch flowers. And yes, I sewed this all on. I did not hot glue it. So I will show you, cheeky peek, that underneath I did not weave in all the ends. Everything's tied off, but I didn't weave into the beanie these yarn ends, because like I say, some of this is has a very fluffy halo, so it's not the greatest to actually sew with. And then I looked for a whole lot of variations of the bell flowers. And when I got the shape right, I used some of that fluffy yarn and I created the little bellflower. I made a few standard leaves and got them on there. My always go-to Tunisian crochet butterfly. I did a few odd colored leaves in blue, and then I made a few little pods to represent buds in a way, like that, and in various colors, and I filled in the gaps like that. So that was my novelty Pixie flower beanie, and it was so great to take part in a creativity beanie. To take part being creative in trying to make a novelty beanie. And I'll show you there on the inside. Everything is sewed on, but I just tied them off. I didn't want to change the bulk on the front. And I was nominated one of the winners, but I tell you what, if you go and have a look at some of the other beanies that everybody submitted, there was a llama beanie, there was a on the road beanie, there was a Oma beanie, there was a Christmas beanie, there was a fishbowl beanie, there were so many. I don't want to leave anybody out. Please go and have a look at the slideshow that Judy has for the wrap-up of the novelty beanie mini cowl. It's beautiful, and congratulations to everybody who submitted their creations. I think they were absolutely stunning. So beanies for charities, beanies for fun and creativity, and even though I'm behind on many of my other makes, I'm really happy to have a stable crochet project, well, 2 of them each week. So even if I'm feeling blue in the cold weather and the wind and the cold fronts and everything else happening around us, beanies and crochet can truly bring us a lot of joy. That's a wrap on my 8th batch of beanies. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all get creative this week. Enjoy your crochet, and until I see you again, take care.